Hi. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. Today, ooh, today we're gonna be talking about a game that came out only yesterday, actually, called Moonvale, produced by Everbyte Studios. I am an avid player of their original game, Duskwood, and this is a direct sequel to Duskwood. And even within the first 5 minutes of playing, there's a lot to be talked about. For those of you who know me from Wattpad and Quoteb, this may come as a bit of a shock to see me doing just YouTube randomly. But I've really been thinking about doing this for a long time, and I've been trying to find the fine line between if I want to continue to stay faceless or if I want to have me out there. I've come to terms with like having my face out there, I think, right now, though not really. But I'm gonna continue to go by faith, and I just think that this will be a really fun thing to do. So yeah, let's get into it. So Duskwood is a game produced by Everbyte Studios. I think it came out like 2 or 3 years ago, and it caused quite a stir, a sensation, I would even say. Honestly, when I discovered it, there was no other game like it. I have never seen a game produced for a mobile game where they use real actors and the dialogue, the texting, it all seems genuine. It's so immersive for the player, and honestly, I think that's Everbyte and Duskwood's biggest selling point. It really feels like you are making choices in the game. It really feels like you are a character. So Duskwood got really big, and they recently have been promoting their sequel, Moonvale. And Moonvale came out yesterday, and obviously I played it, and even within the first 5 minutes, there was something to be discussed about Moonvale. And let me preface this is not an attack on Everbyte at all. Well, I hope that it comes off more as constructive criticism than me attacking them. And I did write down my thoughts, and I've been like processing it for, well, a few hours, but you know, I've been thinking about it because I think Duskwood is so near and dear to so many people's hearts that some of these issues with Moonvale have just like hit really close to home for these people. It's gonna go kind of like a pros and cons list. I wanted to do pros first, but really in order to address the reasons I liked Moonvale, we have to address the reasons I did not like Moonvale. First of all, let's talk about the system with gems and exclusive content. So in the game, if you want to unlock better features such as like being able to look at videos or have different texting options so that you could potentially like flirt with characters or get to know them better, then it's you have to unlock that content. And for Duskwood, it was just a one-time fee, and that was great. I feel like that system worked better. For Moonvale, you have to use gems to unlock it, and it kind of feels like a scam. And I say that in the nicest way possible. So you need at least like 25 gems to really pick a better option to progress the story. And again, it is not necessarily needed, but the whole thing about Duskwood and Moonvale is that you become a character and you're immersed in it. So being able to see things like videos and texts that you otherwise wouldn't be able to see, I feel like it's a big part of their game. I think the Duskwood system was better with the one-time purchase, but for Moonvale, you need so many gems, and then for those gems, you get them through mini games. But I feel like you're not able to play enough mini games to really unlock the content that you want to see. And in doing so, you have to buy gems. I played the game, and I've spent $30 on it, which is maybe 10 times more than I spent on Duskwood. Honestly, it's one of the reasons I feel turned off from the game. And if it weren't for me wanting to find out what happened to my friends in Duskwood, what happened to Jake, Dan, Jesse, Cleo, Lily, Hannah, Thomas, Phil, all these people, I probably wouldn't continue playing. And if I hadn't played Duskwood, I wouldn't continue playing. And this is unfortunately not the only reason that I was like turned off by Moonvale, but we'll get to that like in a minute. I think this also plays into how I think the two games could tie in better because it is a sequel to Duskwood. By now, in the game, you're kind of established, if you've played Duskwood, you're established as a Duskwood veteran. So I think there should be systems from Duskwood still in Moonvale, and this may just be a personal preference. There may be a reason why this isn't established in Moonvale yet. And again, this is just the first chapter, so I feel like we're going to discover a lot more in Moonvale than we have so far. And the chapter seems pretty short, but I think, again, this is the first chapter. We're just, like, stepping into the water right now. You know, we haven't scratched the surface at all. So that's just a preface. But again, I feel like the two games could tie in better when you're established as a Duskwood veteran. I think having the system like Nymphos still in play so that you can see secret chats, because that was the big thing in Duskwood. It was like Nymphos allowed you to be able to read what people were saying about you and that sort of thing. And in Moonvale, most of the time you have to pay with gems to see that content. And it doesn't make complete sense if you're seeing it as a story. If you're seeing it as Moonvale is happening directly after Duskwood, it doesn't make sense. This could just be a choice of the creators. It could just, the game might flow better. Maybe there's an explanation for Nymphos not being in our phones still. And whenever I say our or my character, I'm talking about me playing the game Duskwood. And in Duskwood or Moonvale, my name is Anne. So that's just a preface right there. So I feel that it could have connected the two stories even more that way, because I feel that the character hasn't, thrown away their phone, or they're still for security systems by Jake to still be up, I feel would have tied the two stories closer together. But that's just a personal preference, and again, there could be a reason why it's not done that way. Oh, and again, this is also a personal preference. It could have just, not worked at all, and it could have just not worked at all in the game. But I feel, especially since this story is taking place after Duskwood's events, it might have been cool to see the last text from characters in the previous game. I think it would have been cool to be able to see, the last text I sent to Jake, Richie, and Alan Bloomgate. I think those were the last three people you talked to in Duskwood. And so it might have been a cool way to integrate the two stories, really tie everything in. But again, it could have just simply not worked. Maybe it isn't even an idea that crossed the creator's mind, but, it's just an idea, But that's not, a nitpicky thing that I have. Again, it's a personal preference. So, moving on to my biggest issue with Moonvale thus far is the AI. The AI art, and it's not necessarily for the reasons that you think. I immediately noticed it when I clicked on my character's profile in the game. I think it's really cool that you can now personalize it, that you can have your own image, because that was something that Duskwood lacked, and it wasn't like you were looking at yourself very often, but I like it. I think the feature could have been better if I could have uploaded a picture of myself into the game. I think it would have made it more personable, especially because in Duskwood, all the characters, all their profile pictures are selfies, or pictures obviously taken by friends, and it would have added another level to being like, oh, this character really is me, in a sense. Because when I'm playing as my character Anne, I'm interacting with these characters. I feel like I'm becoming friends with them. And that's a big thing about Duskwood. And so that's something that maybe that feature couldn't work for this game, which is fine. And if it didn't work, cool. The AI art is still pretty cool. Something I did notice was the lack of Latin, Black, and Indian characters for the profile choices, which I did notice to Hispanic-ish looking people. I couldn't quite tell. And there were two Black characters, a male and a female. Primarily, it was white and Asian. But that may be nitpicky. But I will give Everbyte the benefit of the doubt because they did try. There are characters in there. So it may just be something that's like, hey, maybe you should add 1 or 2 more options. And I think that's something that could be easily fixed, you know. But then I was actually kind of shocked when the character Ash is introduced into the game, because immediately the picture is AI, which I was like, okay, it's a little odd because so far we've been introduced to Eric and Adam, and Eric and Adam have been played by real actors, and both of them were phenomenal. And honestly, Adam's performance was just great. I loved it. I can't wait to see. I can't wait to rescue Adam because I have no idea what this kid is doing. But yeah. And I thought maybe it might have been just a choice for that character, just like a personal choice for that character, which would have been fine. But then we were introduced to Charlie and Violet, whose profile pictures are also very obviously AI. And it didn't make sense to me at all. The best part about Duskwood, really, was the actors. They brought Duskwood to life, and it felt like you were actually talking to these characters because their texts are so unique and personable. There's even spelling errors and typos. Like, it's so well thought out. And one of the big reasons why it felt personable was their profile pictures. They were real, they were raw, and again, they were selfies. They were of them being in places in real life, like having fun. Characters would update their profile pictures throughout the course of the game, whether it was relevant to the game or not. And that was such a really cool feature, because you kind of imagine that these characters are living their lives like we're living our lives, and it really brings out the joy of the game, I feel. Even with characters that we didn't see a lot of on video calls or even in pictures, like Jake, Alan, Bloomgate, Dan, Phil, Darkness, all these characters felt real, and part of that is in their profile pictures. Like Jake, the mask is so distinctive and it looks real. It's not obviously AI, so it's not like you're talking to a bot. It almost feels like the mask is a picture that Jake took himself. Then there's Darkness, and his profile picture could be art, but it's hard to tell. It looks like it's real, and even if it is art, it's painterly, it's not obviously AI, and it's personable. Again, I keep using the word personable, but that's what this game is all about, I feel. It's about feeling like you're actually interacting with these characters. It's about getting to know these people and really forming friendships and really, and I'll say, really taking it to the next level for a mobile game. And with that context, we have to judge Moonvale with the bar set by Duskwood. And so far, Duskwood I would still put above Moonvale. And that's just so far. And I know things could obviously change. This is only the first chapter. Again, this is only the first chapter. So I know there's so much more to come. I know that there's so much more in store. Everybody's been working on this for 2 years, I believe. And I know that they've put their heart and soul into this game. Now, personally, I wouldn't have an issue with the AI art style if that was the style from the very beginning. If in Duskwood, every character's profile was AI, if they use animations for the video calls instead, that would be different because that would be the style of the game. And the reason I take such issue with it now is because I'm so used to Duskwood. I'm so used to all the characters having real identities. And with the AI art, talking to Ash, Charlie, and Violet, it feels almost like I'm talking to a robot just because of the profile pictures, and it really puts me off from the game. Because again, I'm used to talking to real people. And all that realness from the characters is partially to do with their profile pictures. Again, Everbyte really raised the bar by having real actors in a mobile game, and it's a little disappointing to see them not meet that standard. Duskwood was a pretty big success as far as I know, and I don't see any reason why they couldn't have hired a new set of actors. And if anybody knows anything differently, please correct me, prove me wrong. I just feel that the AI in the characters who I'm trying to connect with is a little off-putting. I don't mind so much in my profile picture because I think it's unrealistic to have a ton of diverse just headshots, and have everyone feel at peace. So AI maybe is the best way to go with that. Before the characters that I'm interacting with, it's off-putting. And honestly, the letdown of the AI characters has really turned me off from the game. Maybe I think differently if I hadn't played Duskwood and I wasn't so used to the real characters, but I have. And this game is very much marketed towards people who have played Duskwood. It's very much, oh, don't you want to see what happened to your characters? Don't you want to be back in the game sort of thing? What happened to Jake? What happened to Richie? All these characters, we want to go back and we want to see our friends. We want to see what happened to them. And honestly, if I didn't desperately want to know what happened to them, I might not continue playing. It almost makes me think that Everbyte is kind of like dangling Jake in front of us. It's like, oh, don't you still want to see him? Don't you still want to see him? Oh, you gotta get through these gems. You gotta like pay a little more, And I really hope that's not the case because it's a little, I don't know how to describe it other than just like an ick almost. Now, I don't expect Jake or any of the other Duskwood characters to be super involved in this story because even though it is a sequel to Duskwood, it's not Duskwood. We have a whole new cast of characters. We have a whole new story. We're looking for Adam and not Hannah. It is different. But because it is a sequel, I do expect to see Jake, Dan, Lily, Hannah, Thomas, Jesse, Alan even, in this game at some point. And I'm not upset that they haven't shown up yet because it is the first chapter. I feel like it's something that will definitely come later because they have talked about the characters coming back, especially Jake. And I have played the first chapter, and without giving too many spoilers, Jake is brought up, and so is Richie and the past in Duskwood. And I do plan on making a whole series about playing through Duskwood. Chapter by chapter, we'll go through it, and I'll show you guys really just how amazing this game is, because it really is near and dear to my heart. I love it. I recommend it to everyone, even my family, and no one I think has played it yet, but it's so good. It's so good. I do think it'd be cool to see the gang later on. By the gang, I mean the old people of Duskwood. I'd like to see them in Redwood, maybe helping my characters solve the crime, or even having just a conversation about like, hey, can we talk about what happened? Can we talk about what happened in the mines? Can we talk about Richie and all that? I think it's really important because my character Anne and Ash have a brief conversation about Duskwood, and honestly, it feels like I'm talking to a complete stranger, and that is the point in the game. But I'm processing to a stranger about this very traumatic experience that Anne had watching her best friend die and watching the love of her life go on the run. And for my character, Anne does end up with Jake at the end. They end up confessing their love for each other. And so to then talk about that with someone who I don't know, I feel like that processing part would have been better with someone like Jesse or Cleo or even Lily, maybe even Hannah. I think there needs to be a whole conversation with Hannah at this point because in Duskwood I never got to talk to her, or Anne never got to talk to her. And so that would be a really cool thing to bring into Moonvale, into Redwood even, just having these characters talk about what happened at the very least. Once again, I'm keeping in mind that this is the very first chapter, and I am not expecting Duskwood characters to fully come back. I am not saying that Everbyte should completely scratch the game at all. I am not saying that they have done a terrible job at this, because for what it is as a mobile game, Moonvale is pretty good. I do hope that there are better things to come. Actually, halfway through making this video, I've noticed that Everbyte has released a statement about the complaints people have made about Moonvale, and we're gonna read that at the very end and talk about it. So now we can get into the things I like about Moonvale so far. One, I absolutely love that if I'm texting a character in the game, and in real life I have to put down my phone, I have to leave the app, whatever, when I come back to the game, all my chat is saved and I don't have to restart the scene. Because that was a big thing in Duskwood. That was one of my pet peeves about Duskwood. If I had to leave the game in the middle of a conversation and I came back, the whole scene that I started would restart. So I'd have to go through the same conversation and make the same choices, and it was a little annoying, but it was something you could deal with. But this, I love it, because I think it brings even more to the personable aspect of the game. It's really like, oh, I can set this down and come back and be like I'm talking to my friends again. It's really cool, and most of all, it's really convenient. I also appreciate how in the mini games, if there's a move but I can't see it, the move I can make starts like vibrating so that I'm like, oh, there it is, and I can make a move. You know, that was something that, again, Duskwood didn't have. So I would just look for forever, just looking for the move in this giant box, and it's like, at some point I would like throw a tantrum and almost give up. It definitely makes the mini games less stressful, and I really like that update. I do also really enjoy the customization for my character, and I did briefly touch on that already. I think it's really cool to have my own profile picture for once and being able to set my own background and all that. It's a really cool idea. I just think it needs a little more development. But yeah, I'm really enjoying that aspect so far. When it comes to the game itself, I'm really loving the story thus far. I'm really intrigued. I really want to know what's going on with Adam. I want to know about the new mysterious figure who's texting me. Like, it's not the man without a face anymore. How did this guy get my number? Is it a friend who's infiltrated? Is it someone in the group chat? I'm really hooked. I have high expectations for how it's gonna go. I really need to know if Eric is gonna be okay, if he's gonna go in the mine or not. Like, there are so many questions I have, and really the whole aspect of the mystery is still amazing. I still love it. Everybody does such a great job with developing these stories, and all the video chats that I've had with Eric and Adam, they've been great. And I've been frustrated when the chats with Adam were like glitching and he would tell me something and I couldn't understand what he was saying. I was like, oh my god, how can I help you? I can't help you. It's like, it's crazy, and I love it. That's the best part about the game. The best part about the game is the anticipation of wanting to know what's going to happen next. And that's amazing. I love it. So now that we have all that covered, and I know the reasons I didn't like Moonvale outweigh the reasons I liked Moonvale, but in my perspective, honestly, all the issues I had with Moonvale can just be resolved at some point. So let's look at what everybody had to say about the feedback they received from Moonvale. Okay, so we're just going to read the post that they made in its entirety, and we'll discuss it as we go along. Dear friends, first and foremost, thanks to everyone that provided feedback in a constructive manner, whether it be on Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, or directly in the stories. You can imagine it was quite a short night for us as we went through all the comments, feedback, and reviews. We now want to shed light on the most prominent topics and what led us to the decisions that are heavily discussed. Multimedia pack and pricing. Let's talk about the most discussed topic first, shall we? The multimedia pack in Duskwood was often heavily criticized. Some players simply couldn't afford to make real money purchases or were unsure whether it would actually be worth it. None of the content that can be unlocked is required to solve the case by any means. All important images, calls, and storylines are straight up free, just like in Duskwood. And that is very true. You don't need the extra storylines. You don't need the special features to really continue the game. But again, it adds a level of the game being personable to the person who's playing. You feel like you're actually interacting with the characters more instead of it just being a multiple choice game. To continue, here's how it works. We designed a new system that allows you to experience and unlock all dialogue options over the course of multiple playthroughs without ever spending money. There is a steady income of currency if you just play the game, as various things grant in-game currency like solving hard minigames, collecting achievements, or finishing daily quests. There is also a reset reward, called Time Walk, at the end of each episode, which should alone cover the cost to unlock at least 2 premium items in your next playthrough. Given the fact that most of the things that you unlock will remain unlocked, this quickly builds up to a completely free episode with all premium content unlocked. Okay, so it's making a little more sense now, because in Duskwood, once you played the scene once, or the chapter once, you couldn't go back until the very end, then you could restart it. So in Moonvale, they're going for the approach that once you finish the episode, you can go back. And it seems like, according to this, once you've paid for an option, you won't have to pay for it again, which is good. I like that. Again, I feel like the one-time purchase of, I believe it was like $5, was a good option. But I can see why they've gone this route. I can see why they want to make it so that you can have the personable option without having to pay money. It just feels like you have to pay more money because it seems like you can't realistically afford to roll for a new profile picture and at the same time want to have these texting options. So maybe it's more of a matter of the player being able to balance what they want to pay for and what they don't want to pay for. The intention was also to keep replays more interesting, and we think this is generally a move in the right direction. However, we did not explain the system very well, and many of you seem to have felt the pressure to purchase everything in the first go. We're sorry for this and want to emphasize again that no premium content is required to solve the case. Remember how fast an episode is played through and how long the wait felt until the next one was out. Save up some premium content for your next playthrough to keep things exciting. Use the reset reward to pay for it. Balancing adjustments to rewards and/or prices will likely happen as they do in all games. When new systems like this are introduced, nothing is written in stone. I do like that they've explained it. I feel like it's a pretty good explanation now that I think about it. I like that I'm not going to have to pay for the same choices that I previously made, because that was my biggest concern when I saw that I could replay the game. Okay, looks like their next topic is about the usage of AI in general, so let's get into that. For a small studio like ours, the usage of AI to create visual assets can be a big help and provide a lot of flexibility and reduce risks, especially when experimenting with new content, like the player profile customization. To be fair, the results are not always desirable right now, but the older ones might remember how the world and the internet has changed over the past 2 decades. It is quite likely that AI will not vanish from our lives and can bring huge benefits to the table when it comes to interactive storytelling. Our author, who put all her heart into writing the dialogues for Duskwood and Moonvale, will never be replaced by AI, but imagine the little gimmicks and fun AI could add around the main storyline. Imagine being able to talk to your favorite character about everything that happened in the last episodes and not being limited in selecting out of 3 options. Imagine having a funny Polaroid picture of your MC and Jake at the China restaurant as a memory of what magical night that was. Imagine being able to enable an option to get all text messages from your favorite character as a voice message, without the file size of the gaming blowing up. Don't get us wrong, these are not elementary things, but more optional funny interactions that we know for sure many would enjoy, including ourselves. Moonvale as a game does not necessarily need that now, but we as a progressive studio have the duty to experiment and keep up with this technology now in order to be able to use its potential in the future, or, in good conscience, ditch it completely. It is safe to say, though, that we will all laugh about current results that found their way into Moonvale in a few years. Some of you have expressed the wish for classy art or more realistic alternatives when it comes to the player profile. We will make that happen. We will also have another look on how profile customizations are obtained. I like this explanation. I think that they're right. I think that AI is never going to completely go away now that it's been used. I think it's unrealistic to think that it will. And for the sake of giving them the benefit of the doubt, they are trying to make the game more creative, more personable, again, for the player. So I like the direction this is going. The usage of AI for characters. We want to introduce one character and its actor at a time, so each of your new friends gets the spotlight they deserve. Those of you who have been around since the beginning might remember that this is exactly what we did in Duskwood as well. The casting process is something we take very seriously. We can 100% assure we did not move away from the idea that every important character deserves its own actor. Some of you have asked that Ash, Charlie, and Violet get a new profile picture sooner rather than later, which is something we can arrange. I like that. I didn't know that originally the characters in Duskwood didn't get actors right away. And I did come into Duskwood kind of late. I came into it maybe around chapter 5 or 6. And so yeah, I like this. Good. I think it's a good explanation. I can see why they want to give characters their own screen time. So far we've only really conversed with Eric, a little bit with Ash, but not quite enough for them to be considered like someone that we know in the game. So yes, I like this. I think it's a good explanation. The default messenger theme. Many of you seem to dislike the new look of the messenger, although for different reasons. We experimented a lot with this during the development, as this is where all the magic happens, right? Based on the most favorite themes in Duskwood, we've chosen this one as the default theme. The messenger appearance in general is quite a subjective topic, and the only way to really solve this problem is to simply cut you loose. Messenger themes, ranging from realistic to cute, are on the roadmap for Moonvale and will be available with a future episode. I like that. Yeah, I personally didn't have a problem with the background for the texting. For those of you who don't know, it's just like a forest, and it's neat. I think it fits in the theme really well. I personally, while I looked for the option to change it, I wasn't too upset when I found out that I couldn't. So yeah, not a big deal. Duskwood side story. No, here we go. Some of you are concerned that the Duskwood content in Moonvale comes a bit short. We want to let you know that this is just the beginning. Duskwood side story content will accompany you throughout the coming Moonvale episodes and will develop into an own storyline. Sorry, there are a few typos in this. I feel like the producers of Everbyte and even the actors and all that, English isn't their first language, so, which is fine. People who say English isn't my first language when they preface any kind of like art or any kind of art or fan fiction, honestly, it's going to turn out way better than anyone whose English is their first language. As you might have noticed playing the first episode of Moonvale, we designed the side story to have its own nostalgic moments deeply rooted within the new Moonvale content. Both share the same universe, so it makes sense to glue everything together as much as possible. This is not done in a single episode, and what we have planned for the side story needs its own build-up and space. Everything else would feel rushed, which is the last thing our friends from Duskwood deserve. So look forward to the next episodes of Moonvale with us as things start to grow. I like that. I didn't think the characters from Duskwood would really be in the forefront of Moonvale right away. And I think it's good for that. It's good because this is its own story. But honestly, while playing Moonvale, even the fact that Ash was like, "Oh, you're the Anne from Duskwood," I felt recognized. I was like, "Oh, I am that Anne. I am that person from Duskwood." You know, like. So yeah, I enjoyed that. That the fact that it was even brought up, I think, was a good way to tie it in. Vanish chat bug. We've rebuilt the complete game from the ground to ensure more stability and a solid fundament for the future. Only parts of the code have been copied from Duskwood. Unfortunately, this doesn't come without issues, and some of you experienced a new device-specific bug that freezes the game. A fix is already on the way and should be available as soon as Google gives green light. Once it has rolled out, please reset the episodes, do not delete your account, via the options menu in the upper left corner. Okay, I personally didn't experience this bug, but I think it's good that they addressed it. Final words. We are super happy so many of you have been here on the first day. We really appreciate this after 2 years of development. We had countless sleepless nights preparing everything for the release, and seeing you so disappointed really hit us like a truck. The adaptations might take a while, but we will address the issues to make Moonvale the wonderful journey you're here for. Thanks to everyone who left a good review to encourage us during this not-so-easy time. Thanks to everyone that the trust in us, and the patience to let Moonvale grow. Thanks to all of you for being here. Honestly, this is such a good response, and I feel really bad for the creators because I know that they have poured their heart and soul into this game, and if they hadn't, Duskwood wouldn't have took off like it did. And I'll say that I'm proud of them. They're handling this beautifully. I will say this to anyone who is watching: do not review bomb Moonvale at all. I encourage you to play the game for yourself, and if you haven't played Duskwood, go play Duskwood now while the next chapters for Moonvale are in the works. I think that Everbyte is doing a fantastic job, and while I do definitely have my issues with Moonvale, I'm going to continue to play. I think they brought so much clarity in this letter, and honestly, it almost feels like I don't need to make a video now, but this has been on my mind for so long now. I've wanted to make a whole series on YouTube about playing through Duskwood for quite some time now, and it seemed like such a good opportunity to start doing it because now we have Moonvale coming out, so it's the perfect time to do it, really. We're probably going to have a few months until Chapter 2 comes out, so it'll give me plenty of time to start playing through Duskwood. So, yeah, that'll be the next upload that you see from me, probably. Hopefully I'll have found my camcorder by now. I don't know if you can tell, I'm recording this video on my phone, so, let's hope I can find it. Oh my god, I spent so much money on it and I can't find it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe if you'd like. You can find me on Instagram, X, or Twitter. I still call it Twitter. And Wattpad and Quotev. I don't recommend that you go read my fanfiction stories at all. And yeah. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon. Bye.